Please be seated. The court is now back in session, and once again, the floor is given to the prosecution to continue putting questions to this witness. You may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Tun Suan, just before the break, you had explained that in 1989, Khieu Samphan was in charge of foreign affairs and that you delivered telegrams to him and that he wrote information on the telegrams. And you said that was to do with other embassies in different countries. Is that correct so far?
Yes.
Would Khieu Samphan ever give you a telegram if you like, back to you, for you then to do something else with that telegram?
I don't understand your question. Please rephrase it.
I think you're absolutely right. I didn't understand it halfway through it. I'm going to rephrase it. You have a telegram that you hand to Khieu Samphan. Khieu Samphan writes on the telegram. Did he ever give the telegram back to you to forward on to somewhere else, to take somewhere else?
He had his personal secretary to do that.
I'm just going to read an extract from the witness statement that you have in front of me, from TCW 639. I'm referring to English page 00288-627 and to Khmer page 00284-297. Now, this witness was asked this question. When the leaders gave an instruction, did he give it verbally or did he write an annotation on the telegram? Answer. Sometimes he wrote an annotation saying that this telegram is to be forwarded to this or that name. Sometimes when I gave him a telegram to read, he would keep it for 2 or 3 days in order to examine it. After that, he gave the telegram back to me to be sent on with his annotation, telling that this is to be sent to this or that person. Sometimes he gave a verbal instruction. Question. Whose annotations did you see? Answer. More often I saw the annotations of Pol Pot and Khieu Samphan. As for other persons, such as Son Sen and Nguyen Chia, I saw their annotations also when we worked together. Close quote. My question to you is, after you handed Khieu Samphan a telegram, did he ever give you verbal instructions about what to do next?
He had his personal secretary through write on the letter or through forward the letter.
What was the name of his personal secretary who did this?
It was Cone.
And did Korn stay permanently with Khieu Samphan, or did he work at a number of locations?
He was the secretary of Khieu Samphan.
Did he stay permanently with Khieu Samphan as his secretary?
Yes, he did.
During your time when you were delivering telegrams to Khieu Samphan, did you ever see Pol Pot?
No, I did not.
How far was Pol Pot's office from Khieu Samphan's office in approximate kilometres?
It was far.
You've confirmed already that Khieu Samphan was in charge of foreign affairs. I'd like to refer next to document number E3/703. This is a document issued from the Office of the Vice President of Democratic Cambodia in charge of foreign affairs. And it is dated the 15th of July, 1987. At English page ERN 00004002, French 006 937 96 through 7, and Khmer 007 00551 through 2. And the Office of the Vice President of Democratic Kampuchea in charge of foreign affairs state this, and I quote, heading, the number of people who died from our mistakes. The overwhelming majority of our cadres wholeheartedly worked in the interests of the nation and people of Kampuchea, but lacked experiences in running the state affairs. The situation got all the more confused of the subversive activities of Vietnam's agents. Thus, in our measures to arrest and punish those Vietnam's agents, we committed mistakes that affected the lives of minor offenders or innocent civilians. From 1975 to 1978, over 3,000 people died in this category. Close quote. My question is, has Q Sampon ever told you that 3,000 people died trying to effect arrests during the Democratic Kampuchea period?
President. Witness, please wait. The Duty Council, you may proceed. Duty Council, Mr. President. Mr. Witness could not hear some parts of the question, but he is able to hear it now. President, prosecutor, the witness missed portion of your question. Please repeat your last question. And court officer, could you check the headset of Mr. Witness? It could be it's out of battery.
Mr. Tunsuan, I'm going to repeat my question. Has Q Sampon ever told you that 3,000 innocent civilians died during arrests that were mistakes during the Democratic Kampuchea period?
No.
For the benefit of my learned friends, I'm still on the same document. I am moving to English ERN 00004005, French 00693799, and Khmer 007000558. So again, the Office of the Vice President of Democratic Kampuchea in charge of foreign affairs stated this, and I quote, "To be fair, the number of people who died in Kampuchea from 1975 to 1978 is less than people who died by car accidents in some countries each year. 30,000 people or more died from road accidents." Close quote. My question for you is this. Has Q Sampon ever spoken to you comparing the number of deaths in Democratic Kampuchea with car accidents in other countries?
No.
After you moved to the Soteros school in early 1977, Did you ever listen to any broadcasts by Q Sampon
President, witness, please wait. Counsel, you may proceed.
Yes, we have not received any response in French, and I am wondering whether the French interpreters cannot signal to their colleagues silently whenever they cannot hear something that is said, so that I don't have to rise each time when the French interpreter says they've not heard the beginning of the sentence, there's no answer, he hasn't understood what was said. So, unfortunately, I have to rise to raise this problem, but I hope that they could solve the problem in the booth.
Judge Lavange, please proceed.
Yes. Let me remind everyone of good practices to ensure that there is proper interpretation. First of all, there should be a pause observed between the answer given by the witness and the new question. If the question comes before the end of the answer, it poses a problem. And the witness should wait for the red light to come on before he answers the question. If he answers a question before the light is turned on, the answer will not be received by the interpreters.
President, prosecutor, could you please repeat your last question?
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Ton Suan, has Q Sampon, in discussions with you, ever sought to make comparisons between the number of people who died in democratic Kampuchea with the number of people who have died in car accidents in other countries?
No.
During the period of democratic Kampuchea, have you ever heard broadcasts over the radio by Q Sampon on the anniversary of the 17th of April victory, in which Q Sampon spoke of, firstly, we must wipe out the enemy in our capacity as masters of the situation, or secondly, to exterminate the enemies of all stripes.
Witness, I don't understand your question.
Have you ever heard Q Sampon on the radio talking about wiping out the enemy?
No.
When you were working at K3, did any people disappear from that location?
No.
When you were working at K3, did any of your colleagues ever point out any senior leaders of the Democratic Kampuchea regime to you?
No.
Do you know if the senior leaders of the Democratic Kampuchea regime lived together at K3?
No, I did not.
Thank you, Mr. Tun Suan. That concludes the questioning from the prosecutors. Thank you.
President, thank you. The floor is now given to lead co-lawyers for civil party if you have a question. Mr. President, and good morning, Your Honors. Good morning, everyone, the public and the civil parties, and good morning, Mr. Witness. I do not have many questions for you, just some minor clarifications. You stated that you worked at K3. Can you tell the chamber who else worked at K3? Answer. In my group, there were 12 of us, that is under Pong's supervision, and I did not know what happened to the rest as we separated. Question, maybe my question is not clear to you. While you worked at the K3, did you know, besides the Pong's group, any other people or group working at the K3 location? President, witness, please wait. National Council for Kil Sampon, you may proceed. Council, thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to get to your attention that this witness testified that he did not work at K3, and at K3 he actually learned to type. So for that reason, I'd like the national lead co-lawyer to please refresh your question. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, I'll refresh it. While you were at the K3, can you tell the court who else were at the K3? That is working there or studying there? How many altogether? Answer. There were various sections within K3, so I did not know all. K3 was a big place. Question. Can you tell us the sections at K3 that you knew? What were they? That is based on your recollection. And what were the functions of those respective sections? Answer. I cannot. I was young at the time and I only learned to type there, so I did not know the actual work at the various other sections. Question. You said K3 was a big place. Can you be a little bit more specific? How big was it in terms of the actual compound? Or were there a lot of buildings within a K3? And who were actually staying there at K3? Answer. There were various sections and the compound was pretty extensive. I cannot simply tell you the actual size of the compound. It is roughly about 1 square kilometer. And various sections actually occupies the compound. And we stayed in groups. Question. At K3, was there a school nearby? And to which side of the school was K3 located, if you can recall? Answer. I did not know the school, but I knew there was a school. It was to the north. And the school was there, extending from the north to the south part. It occupied 3 blocks of a building. Question. Now I move on from K3. On another subject, you said that Khieu Samphan was an honest person. On what grounds did you say he was an honest person? Answer. He was honest, he was not a greedy person, and he did not want to exercise excessive power or was greedy on property. He is not a kind of person who wants to get rich illegally, for instance, or to do things which could destroy the nation. Question. In your term, in regards to his honesty, do you also mean he is a law-abiding citizen and the one who obeys instructions from his superior? Is it in this context as well? Answer. He respected and adhered to the principle of good thing. That is my frank evaluation of him. He did not want to enjoy any excessive power or property. He only accepted what he was given, and he was loyal to the nation and he did not have any other ambition besides serving the nation. Question. You said that he was honest, and that was your observation during the time that you were with him. Was it after 1979, or was he also an honest person based on the observation that you made on his activities prior to 1979? Answer. What I said is related to his characters after 1979, that is, after the time that I worked with him and lived with him. Because after that, I observed that he was an honest person, not an ambitious person. Question. After 1979, as you said, he was an honest person and he was a law-abiding citizen, and he worked based on his conscientiousness. Did you make this observation while Khieu Samphan was working with other leaders or with other people? Answer. He was an honest person while he worked at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs for the Tri-Party group. His work was in respect to the regulations of the Tri-Party group, and that means to reconcile the three parties in order to achieve peace for the nation. Question. This may be my last question to you. Can you tell us when Khieu Samphan was working with other leaders after 1979? Did he have frequent discussions with other people? Answer. He used to have a communication with his colleagues, with the diplomats, as usually they would meet by the year end. As to the content of what he discussed, it was beyond my knowledge, but each year representatives of embassies came to meet him. Counsel, thank you, Mr. Witness. I have no further question for you, and thank you, Mr. President. I'm not sure if my international colleague have any question for this witness. Thank you. President, the floor is now given to Nuon Chia's team if you wish to put questions to the witness. Yes, Counsel for Nuon Chia, you may proceed.
Mr. President, we have no questions.
President, thank you. The international lead co-lawyer, you may proceed.
Oui, bonjour, Monsieur le Président.
Yes, good morning, Mr. President. Good morning, all the parties. It is not very important because I don't really have any question to put to the witness, Mr. President.
President, Mr. Tun Soon, the hearing of your testimony has now concluded, and you may be excused from the court. You may return to your residence, and we thank you for your valuable time to be here to testify for this morning session with patience and best effort. And your testimony may contribute to ascertaining the truth in this case, and we wish you all the best. And you may now leave the court. Court officer, could you assist the witness in conjunction with Visu so that he may return to his residence or wherever he wishes to go? And likewise, it applies to the Duty Council.
The President, court officer is now directed to bring in witness TC 173 into the courtroom. Rather 673. The President, good morning, Mrs. Witness. What's your name, please? Response: I am So Suchit, Question. Madam Suchit, how old are you? Response. I am 62 years old. Question. Thank you. Where do you live? Response. I now live at Sala, Mien Chai, Songkat, in Phnom Penh. Question. Thank you. What do you do? Or rather, what is your occupation? Response. I'm a housewife. Question. What are your parents' names? Response. My father is So Chum and my mother is Riem. Question. What is your husband's name? Response. Kil Sampon. Question. Thank you. How many children do you have? Response. We have 4 children. Question. Thank you, Madam Witness. As the wife of Mr. Kil Sampon, who is the accused in these proceedings, according to the internal rules, you are not asked to take the oath. Nonetheless, because there is another accused person who involved in these proceedings, can you tell the chamber whether you are in any relationship with Mr. Nuon Chea or other parties to the proceedings? Response. I am not in any relationship with them. The President, have you taken the oath regarding your testimony concerning Mr. Nuon Chea? Response. I have already taken the oath, Mr. President. Question. Thank you. Now, the chamber would like to notify you of your right under Rule 28, right against self-incrimination of witnesses. As a witness, you may object to making any statement that might tend to incriminate you. In other words, you have the right not to incriminate yourself. And we have coordinated with the WESU unit to ensure that a jury counsel is provided to assist you, and he is now sitting next to you. So if you feel in your response you may self-incriminate, then you may consult with your counsel before you respond to the questions. And as the witness, you will have to respond to all questions put by the judges of the bench and parties to the proceedings. On top of this, as the witness, you shall tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth that relevant to your knowledge. Have you ever given any interviews to the investigators of the ECCC during the past years? Response. No, I haven't. The President, thank you. We would like to now hand over to counsels for Mr. Kil Sampon to put some questions to the witness, and counsel for Kil Sampon and Nuon Chea will have half day for putting the questions to the witness. You may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good morning, Madam. I'd like you to tell
the chamber a little bit about your social background. For example, you might tell them what profession your parents had.
Response: I am So Suchit. I was born in Kapon village, Srai Thom commune, Rovieng district of Previhir province. My father, So Chum, and my mother, Riem, they were farmers. I was at that time a student.
Vous avez indiqué que vos parents.
You've told us that your parents were farmers. Did they have a large amount of land?
Response: they had just enough amount of land so that they could make a living on the land. I could say that they had just enough pieces of land for the living.
Combien. Non, pardon. Combien de frères et de.
How many brothers and sisters were you in the family?
Response: I have 9 siblings.
Et vous-même êtes en quelle position?
And where did you come in this family? In what position?
Response: I am the 6th child of the family.
Pouvez-vous indiquer à la chambre?
Can you tell the chamber if you went to school? And if you did, up to what age and what level?
Response: I used to go to Rovieng Junior High School at grade 5th when I was there.
Et après?
What happened after that? For the 5th year, did you stop going to school then? Is that right?
After that, I dropped and I quit.
Quel âge aviez-vous lorsque vous avez arrêté l'école?
How old were you when you stopped going to school? And what year did you drop out of school?
Response: I was 18 years old when I dropped out of school. It was in 1969.
Pourquoi avez-vous arrêté?
Why did you stop studying? And what did you turn to once you had finished studying?
Response: after stopping my studies, I stayed home and helped my parents with farming.
Et pendant combien?
And how many years did you spend helping your parents with the farming?
Response. It was about 1 year or so.
Et que s'est-il passé?
And after that year had gone by, what happened next?
Response. Then there was a coup d'etat.
Vous parlez du coup d'État de 1960.
And you're talking about the 1970 coup d'etat, I take it.
Response. Yes, it is correct.
Pouvez-vous expliquer quelles conséquences?
Can you tell us about the consequences on your life of that coup d'etat? I asked you how long you helped your parents, and you said right up to the coup d'etat. So, can I ask you what kind of link there was between that particular political event and the way your life was going?
Response. When the coup d'etat happened during the time of war, life was not easy. It was no longer easy to cultivate rice for our living. It is because fighting took place. Bombs were dropped. That's all.
Oui, madame.
Yes, madam, but my question is to find out about the consequences of the coup d'etat and the bombing and the war on your own life. You said that you stopped helping your parents in the fields after 1 year, so what did you do after that?
Response. In general, psychologically, I did not suffer great consequence, but physically we had some difficulties when it comes to farming because we were afraid of doing farming because of the war. That's all.
Vous avez donc.
So you stopped helping your parents with the farming, is that correct?
Response. I think by mid of 1970 we were provided with some education, offered some educational sessions, and we were asked to go into the jungle.
vous a proposé ces...
Who was offering these education sessions, and who suggested that you go into the jungle?
Response. First, there was a senior woman who came to us and gathered some men and women in the village so that we could be brought to a study session. I remember that senior lady as Jum.
Et que s'est-il passé?
Can you tell us about the study sessions and what their purpose was?
Response. The purpose of the study session was that we were told that then Prince Norodom Sihanouk was toppled by the coup d'etat, and we had to fight to regain independence. And at that time, in order for us to continue fighting for this, we had to engage in revolution. We have to be involved in this revolutionary movement.
Et comment s'appelait?
And the people who were saying this to you, what organization did they belong to?
Response. I did not know which organization she belonged to. I only knew her by the name of Yum. Again, I had no idea who she belonged to or which organization she belonged to.
Mais on vous proposait de...
But you were being told to fight against the power of General Lon Nol. Is that correct?
Response. Yes, it is.
Est-ce que vous avez adhéré à ce mouvement, à ce...
Did you join the movement at that stage? Did you do what they were proposing you should do?
Response. Yes, I did.
Et de quelle manière avez-vous marqué?
And in what particular manner did you undertake a commitment? Could you tell the chamber about that?
Response. We joined the movement. First, some small groups had already been established in the villages, including the self-help, or rather mutual help women group, and the mutual assistance women groups were created, and there were other groups, including the village messengers and transportation groups.
Et vous, concrètement?
And what did you do specifically once you had taken the decision to join the movement?
Response. I was a village medic.
Vous aviez une formation?
Did you have any training to be a medic like that?
Response. Some local doctors provided trainings for us, and I attended these medical training sessions with some doctors, including a doctor by the name of Liang.
Vous venez de dire.
You've just said that you were a medic in the village. Are you telling us that you stayed with your parents while being a member of the movement?
Response. Yes, it is correct. I still remained with my parents.
Est-ce que vous.
Did you carry on that medical work in the village for a good many years? Can you give us an idea of how long this phase of your life lasted?
Response. About 3 or 4 months before the end of 1970, the period that I was engaged in this medical field.
Dans ce domaine médical.
In these medical matters, did you end up giving medical care to the local inhabitants or to combatants? What sort of people came to you for care?
Response. People who came for care were those who contracted malaria, diarrhea, high temperature, and we then would provide them with the medicine or gave them some injection, and that there were some other nurses who would also be on duty to assist us.
Quel type de matériel médical?
What sort of medical equipment was available to you? You've told us about medicines. What sort of equipment might you be called upon to use?
Préciser ma question.
Madam, let me be a little bit more precise. Was this modern equipment, or are we looking at traditional medicines?
Response. At that time, we had access to modern medicine already. We did not use traditional medicine for treatment.
Vous avez indiqué que.
You told us that you acted in this capacity for 3 months. Now, what did you do after that?
Response. I then joined a small group comprised of a village chief and other people surrounding the offices, including male and female workers. I joined the group to continue or resume my medical work. The President, thank you, Council, and thank you, Madam Witness. It is now appropriate moment already for the adjournment. The Chamber will adjourn until 1:30 p.m. Court officer is now directed to assist the witness and her jury counsel during the adjournment and have them return to the courtroom by 1:30 p.m. Security personnel are now directed to bring Mr. Kyosampon down into his holding cells and have him brought to the courtroom by 1:30. The court is adjourned.
សូមក្រោកឈរ